This award lets me know that
Good morning. Bonjour. Comment ça va? Et toi? Ça va très bien. Ni hao. Hola. Bienvenue. Wan Ying. Bienvenidos. Bienvenita. Namaste. And welcome. Welcome to another exciting episode of Gem Hunter Stories. My name is Barry B. Mixon, and I am a gemmological storyteller. And each and every week, I get the magnificent opportunity to take you on an adventure, to places you've never been before, to hear stories you've never heard before. Each week, I get to take the art, science, history, and magic of gemstones, precious metals, and fine jewelry, and put it all together into a story. See, the whole history of mankind revolves around gemstones and precious metals, either directly or indirectly. So what I do is I take those gem stories and I use them as a template, as an inception point, as a bridge to help people, to empower people, to remind people to take time to discover the value of their own stories, of who you are, of how you resonate with the light. One of the best things, first of all, I just wanted to give a shout out to all the new people who have come on. Thank you so much. Thank you for your comments. Thank you. I'm always surprised by when somebody say, hey, I saw your show. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. I want to say shout out to Rachel. I told her I spoke to her today. Wonderful. She's from Georgia. So, she got that whole Georgia thing going on. Hey, Rachel, and everybody else. Thank you so much for your comments and your Luana. Thank you. God knows. Thank you so much. Barbara J. Beckley, my behind the scenes producer. Thank you. Thank all of you so much for still being here today. One of the things that I love about gemology is all the places that it takes you in your mind. But gemology helps you see the world in a completely different way. It really does. If you guys haven't gotten it, for those of you who have been watching, this is like my 4th year now. This whole show is really about value. And what I have found, I believe, is a way to talk about value that supersedes race, supersedes ethnicity, supersedes religion, supersedes location, anywhere in the world. Because I don't have to argue with you, because all I'm doing is asking you to look at the same concepts, the same characteristics, the same traits that we so highly value in gemstones and precious metals. And ask yourself, why don't those same traits apply to you, apply to me? I'm not asking you to come up with, to believe in a certain way because you are this political influence. You are this, you are that, you are this color, you are that color, you from this part of it. No, see, because gemstones is everywhere. Gemstones is everywhere. So you have to understand what I'm showing you on this show, you already believe. I'm just making you look at it in a different way. You already believe it. And you know how I know you believe it? Even though I don't know everyone who's watching this show, you're wearing it. It's in your ears, it's on your neck, it's on your wrists. You have given it to someone, you have received it with someone, you have longed for it from someone. It brings back all kinds of memories. And what you're really talking about is stories. That's what you're really talking about. You're talking about stories. You have to, so, and what made me really start to put this together is one of my viewers said to me, Barry, you talk about going all these places, I see them, but you never really talk about it. You know, you take pictures and you have all these pictures, and those pictures just live in your camera or your computer. And I thought about that. I was just like, she is so right. So I want to take you to a place called La Ronce. La Ronce. And they don't capitalize the R, I do because I just like the way it sounds, La Ronce. Okay. And La Ronce. And it's this little mystical, magical town. It's just this little town that sits on the in the valley of the Pyrenees Mountains. The Pyrenees Mountains are the natural border between France and Spain. And what always gets me, and as you can see, they're kind of high. It's not like so it's not like when Napoleon had to cross over, or any of the armies or Roman armies, they always had to go over the Pyrenees Mountains. That was the natural obstacle, the natural antagonist in terms of a story. So La Ronce sits in this beautiful, this is like all around you in La Ronce. La Ronce sits right in the middle of it. And it's just the air, everything is just different. It's this little tiny town. La Ronce, I mean, this is the whole town right here. There's only one pharmacy. There's only one restaurant. There's only one boulangerie, which is a bakery. There's only one. You don't have them. And I stayed in this little cottage, kind of like the way they do in fairy tales. You know, this was the Airbnb I stayed in. Of course, I had to have my shirt, voila, because that's what it felt like. I'm here. And this was on my birthday, my 62nd birthday. I'm saying that because I'll be 64 in a few weeks. But anyhow, yeah, this is the Pyrenees Mountains. And when you walk around the town, there's a school that sits right next to the mountains. I don't usually film schools too much because, you know, they got the issues over there too. No, those totally safe, dangerous. It's against the law, literally. So there was kids out there and I didn't want to take this, but that school, if you look to the right of that, that's where the school is at, right next to a mountain. Can you imagine being a science teacher, teaching right next to a mountain range? Oh, I mean, I don't know. Some people get turned off by a lot of things. That would be just epic. And so we walked into this town, and I was talking to people. You know, I'm a little shy now. I was talking to people, and I met this guy who I love saucisson. I love those of you who are vegetarians. I'm sorry, saucisson is just it's more than sausage. It's an experience. And saucisson comes in so many different varieties. And imagine how I felt walking into a whole store of saucisson. Okay. And this man's name was Jean-Pierre. Everybody's Jean over there. Just it's safe when you're in France. If you start out with names like Michel, Jean, Marc, you really can't go wrong. Maximilian, things like that. But anyhow, Jean-Pierre, he looked at me and he knew, I don't know, somehow he knew that I wasn't from there. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out that why. But he looked me up and down and he asked me, where was I from? Yeah, in France. He said, where are you from? And I just was like, I'm from New York. Yeah, je habite, you know, New York. I'm from New York, but I live, je habite, New York. I mean, sorry, Chicago. And he looked at me like, oh, you're from New York. You're from Chicago, huh? And I said, we. And then he asked me, and I forgot how he said it. I can't think right now and don't say, but what he asked me was, do I think that I could ever live here in this town? And he's like one of those serious looks, like he really was questioning, asking me, you know, you're from New York, you're from Chicago, would you ever live here? And I started thinking about this magical town. I started thinking about just, you know, just being there. This is the church. I mean, and it just stands like every little town in France has a church. It is the symbol of the town. The town. I don't get this church is, I think, is 12th century. 12th or 13th century. I mean, it looks like, wow. I mean, I know churches in Chicago that's only been maybe about 80 years old don't look that good. And it made me start thinking about semi-precious. I know I'm strange, but that's what came to my mind. Because I thought to myself, okay, I'm from New York City. I'm from Chicago, two of the major cities of the world. Chicago skyscrapers started there. New York, I mean, say no more. It's just the capital. But I would love to live in a place like that. And it made me think about how New York and Chicago and Los Angeles would be precious, and this little town that's in the middle of nowhere would be considered semi-precious. I mean, think about it. So I entitled this show, "What Does Semi-Precious Really Mean?" What does it really mean? When you say it, it's a word that we use all the time. And that's the thing about gemmology. Gemmology teaches you how we say words all the time. And the way we look at those words and define those words in gemmology that we spend millions and millions of dollars on, those same words oftentimes don't have the same meaning for us. It's the same word. So what does semi-precious really mean? I mean, when you look at this town, there's no, if they have a police force, they have like one guy, maybe two. I mean, it's just, this is it. Nestled in the mountains, the Pyrenees Mountains, which is a pretty awesome mountain range. It pretty much runs the whole length of France and Spain. Everybody had to go through this. You know how many people were in the town? 1,180. Not counting the sheep, because there's a whole bunch of sheep everywhere. I have to do, this is going to be a two-part show. I have to show you the sheep. I couldn't find a video. All the sheep have bells on it. And some of you saw that video I put on Facebook, but I want to show you again. Imagine driving down this road. You're driving down this road, and all of a sudden you hear, because there was a little traffic jam, meaning like there's like 3-4 cars, a traffic jam, and I'm like, what's going on? And all of a sudden you hear, I mean, the bell, it was deafening. It was, there must have been, I don't know. I don't want to exaggerate, but I'm thinking 750, because it took them a while. I wouldn't even surprised if they told me there was 1,000. They were packed like 5, 6 deep, just row after row after row after row after row, just coming down this road, and they was all the bells, and I was like, oh my God. Yeah. See, Lawrence is this little tiny town. There's Lawrence. That's where Lawrence is at. Lawrence sits in the largest, this area right now in France is actually the largest area in France. It's called the Novotel Aquitaine, meaning like new water, because like the towns around it, they have hot springs. I'll show you Dax. Dax has literally a Roman hot spring. That's why the Romans were there. Not to mention the wine, but the hot springs. And so I would love to live in a town where you could just walk down the street like this, male or female, and you didn't have to worry about getting hit over the head. What a concept. I mean, you could just be alone in your thoughts and just walk around the town. We walked around the whole town, and every person you met, they would look at you for a second and just bonjour, and I go bonjour. Or I would start out, because French are kind of like reserved, so I say bonjour, comment ça va, and they would be shocked first of all, and then they would just bonjour, monsieur. And it was just such a wonderful experience. It was a wonderful experience to just be in a place, this little sleepy place that you would never, unless you know it's there, you don't know it's there. People go skiing. There's a lot of mountain climbing, also marathons, cyclons, cyclons, like the Tour de France goes through stuff like this. You're in the mountains for real. And the houses, there's no big locks, and you call those storm doors are just for the wind. They're not just to keep the people out, they're the wind, because you wouldn't think, look how clean the streets are. Yeah, you got one barber. Thank God I don't have to worry about it, but if I had hair, that's where you go. So when Jean Paul asked me, would I live there? Absolutely. And I would live there because it's semi-precious. Because of the stories. And that's when you begin to understand the power of stories, because everything you believe about a precious gemstone, somebody told you a story, precious versus semi-precious. Oh, girl, you don't want that. Why? It's a semi-precious stone. What does that mean? What does that mean? For those of you that listen, so let's take a second to define precious versus semi-precious, okay? When you say, because it's important, when it's important because once upon a time, someone told you a story. Once upon a time, and I want you to stay with me on this, someone told you a story once upon a time that made you understand and believe that what you had in your hand, what you were wearing, what you wanted was precious. Once upon a time, someone told you that. They told you a story. So, like, and in gemology, let me go back. And because of that story, there are certain words that you understand that is important in the terms of gemology. You understand those words. And what I'm saying to you today, and what this whole show is about, is how you can use those same words that have completely different meanings, or at least not completely different. The meaning is I don't know how to define it. The meaning, it just have, in gemology, the meaning is so much higher, so much more empowering. That's what I want to say. It's so much more empowering in gemology, and that same word, or the meaning of that word, has a completely different connotation. For instance, carat. That's what once upon a time is. When you say once upon a time, and this is what I'm trying to show you, once upon a time is a direction. You can take that story anywhere you want to take that story. When someone said once upon a time, Barry, yes, mommy, once upon a time. And because my mother was my mother, a lot of my stories are horror stories. But I was prepared for a story. So, like the word carrot, when you say carrot, people talk, oh, I want a 5 carat. Oh, girl, I want a 5 carat. I want a 3. I remember I met a young lady once. Really, we hadn't even been dating that long, and she was already telling me point blank that she was not going to get married unless she had a man that gave her a 3 carat diamond. And I was early on in my gemmological career. I'm just like, girl, you know how much those cost? I don't care. That's what I want. I was like, okay, well, years later, 20 years, 30 years, 20 years later at least, I see her, no carat. But anyhow, that's what she wanted, and no problem. But when people talk about carat, this is what they're talking about. They're saying, girl, I want 150 carat yellow, fancy yellow diamond. Canary yellow diamond. That's what they're talking about. That's carat in many people's mind. Big, just big. This big. But that's not what carat really means. That's not what carat really means. Carat in gemology, and before we go there, I just realized there's 2 types of carats, okay? There's carat and carat. Same word. Carat with a K. Carat with a K means that goes for metals. That goes for your platinum. That goes for your silver. That goes for your gold. So when you say carat, you're talking about purity. When you say carat with a K, you're talking about purity. 14 karat, 18 karat, 22 karat, 24 karat. Okay, that's what you're talking about. So when you look at, I mean, look at this thing, ladies and gentlemen. You know what this was? This was Josephine's. This was Josephine's hors d'oeuvre dish. You know how somebody who's really into parties has an hors d'oeuvre dish, and you just go in and pick, your condiments. This was a condiment tray made out of, the whole thing was gold. The whole thing was like 22 karat. No, I'm sorry. It was like 18 karat gold because it had to be hard enough. Yeah. The whole thing was gold inside and out. Wasn't just the cover. Yeah, I was just like, oh my God. So purity. You were eating those little maraschino cherries out of something that was made out of gold. Purity. 75% gold. But when you say carat with a C, what you're really talking about is weight. Yeah. Let me do that again. When you talk about carat with a C, you're talking about weight. Yeah. You're talking about how much that gemstone weighs. That's what you're really talking about. So when you say carat equals weight. Now, we live in a world where there's a whole lot of fat shaming, right? Oh, this person's fat. Oh, girl, you gained weight. Oh, man, look at you. We talk about weight all the time. Lord knows, I'm getting, and we all know it's hard. It's hard to maintain weight, to exercise, and do all the things you have to do. I mean, we have all these pressures and everything else about our weight because of what people think in terms of carats, but what they're really talking about is weight. And we don't give, when we talk about the 10 karat ring, we don't give a person that same level of value. For instance, if your man, I love doing this part. If your man or your partner came home with this diamond ring for you, for this diamond ring, he said, babe, you just do it for me. You put in the pronoun you need. Girl, you just do it for me. When I look at you, I just feel like my whole life has changed. The energy, just the love, the way you care for me, the way you take care of me, the way you have been there for me from the beginning, girl. There's no way as a gemologist, I cannot present you with that ring. Most of you guys would have been okay as soon as I said girl, and all the rest wouldn't have been necessary. But I'm a storyteller. There's no way, you know how they always say never? There is no way in God's green entire earth, anybody who's watching this program right now would tell their husband, their partner, oh, honey, it's just too big. Nobody, ever, never, right? No, never. Nobody would get this ring, put this ring on their hand. Some of you are salivating right now. You could see it. Remember that woman I told you about when I first sold my first diamond tennis bracelet, and she spent the whole entire, literally, I'm not even lying, it still boggles the mind, at least 2 hours. I want to say 4. But some of y'all are not going to believe that, so let's just leave it at 2, because 2 is still literally just doing this in front of the light, in a room by herself. I think she would stop every once in a while, get something to drink and eat and everything, and just go right back to it. So nobody's going to look at that diamond and say, no, it's never going to happen. Never. No one's going to say, oh, baby, please just take it back to the store. I don't have any way, I don't have anything to wear with this. or yellow is just not my color. Nobody. You would suddenly just love yellow. You would start singing Sesame Street songs that deal with yellow is something. You was something. You would figure out a way. Nobody watching. Ask you, and if you don't feel like that, please comment. Please comment. I want to see me, because if you're one of those out of 4 billion women on the planet, if you're one of that one, you're that 1% of 1% of 1% of women out there that would say, baby, I don't want this ring, please let me know. Because I think you deserve a Nobel Prize or something. Because the one thing I learned about gemstones is not just a thing. Gemstones is a drug. Gemstones is, yeah. That's why I don't sell gemstones, really, because you got to be a crack dealer. You have to understand. Yeah. It's a whole different mindset. It's a whole different mindset. But nobody would say no. This is a picture some of you guys know I love. I just love not just the beauty of the woman. To me, what makes this picture just so spectacular is what she looks like is exactly what that diamond looks like to me. And they're both from Botswana. In fact, I did a post this the other day, and I'll probably get more into it. They just found the second largest diamond ever in Botswana. So for me, as a storyteller, as a gemmological storyteller, I just really, it just excites me to know that this woman came from the same place that this diamond came from. And when you understand molecular forces, when you understand chemistry, to understand that the reason why you found that diamond in Botswana is the same reason that woman is just, oh my God. And for those of you who are saying, well, she's wearing makeup, so is the diamond. The diamond has to be cut. The diamond has to be faceted. The diamond has to be polished. It did not look like that when you first found that. So for those of you who say, oh, that's just Megan lighting, what do you think of diamond? A diamond's whole entire purpose is to capture as much of the light as possible and radiate that light out, right? The diamond to max light performance. The amount of light that goes into that diamond is the amount of light that should come out of that diamond. What do you think that woman is doing? No, she don't look like that without makeup. I know. But what she did was manifest her beauty. Her beauty. Doing whatever she felt like to do to maximize the way she resonated with the light. And I guarantee you that when later on, after that shoot was over, and someone asked her, hey, you had that big diamond in your hand, what was that like? Girl, it was okay. It was heavy. I mean, here I am holding this thing in my hand, and they had to do the shot 400 times and stuff like this. And I just couldn't see this thing cost. I mean, it's like in my hand, and this thing cost $40 million. It's just a little bit, girl, you know what I can do with that? Never happened. I don't know this woman. I'll probably never meet this woman. Never happened. Never in 1,000 years. Never. So, and here's another word. Thank you. Inclusions. People talk about inclusions all the time. Oh, they talk about I want a diamond that is VS1 or VVS1. They just throw around terms like that because they heard that story, but you don't really understand what an inclusion is. An inclusion in gemology, and you can read it. An inclusion is something that happens inside of the gemstone. It could be a bubble, it could be solid, it could be liquid, it could be a gas. It could be fractures, it could be cavities. It can even be other gemstones. Like not lots of times, but you'll find a garnet in a rough diamond because when it grew up with that inside of it. So an inclusion is not the actual molecular formula. Inclusion is what happens outside of the basic molecular formula. You understand? It's kind of like, it's just like you are who you are. You're a human being. But there's things inside of you, whether it be physical, the way you eat, the way you smoke, you drink, whatever. Those chemicals are now inside of you. They're not a part of you. They're inside of you, though, and they become a part of you. They become a part of you. You drink a lot of beer. Well, there you go. The beer is your inclusion. The beer is your inclusion. So let's take something like emeralds. Emeralds are one of those important stones. Okay, emeralds are one of those important stones that that people just totally go crazy about. But so when they think of emeralds, this is what they think of. This is what they think of when you think of an emerald. This is when you buy an emerald, Elizabeth Taylor, so many women love emeralds. That's the symbol, that's the birth of May. This is an emerald. But that's not what an emerald really is. And we'll talk more about that when we get to the other side. We come back from the other side. Here's a gem bit. Once upon a time, amethyst was considered to be one of the 5 traditional cardinal gemstones, along with diamonds, rubies, emeralds, and sapphires. In fact, for thousands of years, because of this beautiful purple color, amethyst was only worn by royalty, kings, queens, emperors, and priests. Until about the 1800s, when they found a huge supply of it, the value of it decreased. It wasn't rare anymore. Something to think about in your own life. Discover the value of your story. All right, we're back. I left you with this emerald, but that's not what you're really looking at. All emeralds have inclusion. What you're looking at when you see this is after it's been treated. After they had inclusion inside of it. It's an emerald, so it has inclusions. In fact, this is what an emerald looks like when it's not treated. Ladies, this is, when you're talking about that woman, how she looks without makeup, some of you guys understand this is your morning look. You're still an emerald, but this is your morning look. Hair all over your head, things like this. This is your morning look. All emeralds have inclusions, and some of them you can't. This is a finished piece of jewelry. You can see the inclusions. You can see the inclusions. What they did was they used something that's called an opticon, is an oil that you inject into the emerald. It's kind of like the same way auto glass repairers work. When you have a crack and they fill it in, that's what they do with emeralds. In fact, 99% of all emeralds have been treated. 99% of all emeralds have inclusions. So if you have an emerald and you're looking at it right now, and if it looks clear, it's either been treated or synthetic. If you have an emerald and you are thinking that it's natural and you didn't and wasn't treated at all, if you didn't pay a whole bunch of money, especially if it has some carats, some size to it, you guarantee it's synthetic. Because emeralds that are not treated, that don't have inclusions, are extremely rare. So you would pay top dollar for that. I'm talking about tens of thousands of dollars, millions somewhere, depending on the size. All emeralds included. Yeah, this is it. You can see the inclusions. You can see it. I'm guarantee you're not leaving the store without a whole bunch of money being left in the store. Inclusions. but it's not considered, but that's not considered to be a semi-precious stone, right? It's considered to be a precious stone because somebody told you that story. Someone told you a story of what an emerald should look like, and that's what you believe. So you identified it as precious. Same thing with hardness. Hardness is the same way. You know, hardness is only talking about how it can be scratched. Can a gemstone be scratched? That's all a diamond is. So when people talk about, there's a hardness scale. This is it. From one all the way to 10. 10 is a diamond. Hardest substance known to man. But what people don't understand about diamonds is this is a diamond. This is a natural diamond. This is what a diamond looks like. You would walk down the street and probably not even know what you thought, maybe just somebody, a kid broke something. Somebody broke a piece of glass. Yeah, this is a diamond. Before it becomes this diamond is this diamond. I mean, think about that for yourselves. This is who you were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, when you were a kid, when you grew up. This is who you were. You were rough. You were rough. And then you became. And what's so awesome when you really think about it is this diamond is 3 billion years old. Girl, you only 45. What's up? You only 66 or 64 years old. What's up? You did all of that in 64 years, and it took 2 billion years to do that. When I began to understand, what gemology is, what gemstones are, and how much money that you would pay for that diamond, despite it being old, and I'm only turning 64, I'm good. I'm good. I can look at a diamond and say, it took you that long? Voila. You gotta change the way you see words. When you say hardness, see, a diamond is the hardest substance, but diamonds are brittle. Diamonds are actually fragile to some extent. If you hit a diamond in a certain way, it will break. A diamond will break. A diamond is a brittle gemstone. In fact, not only is it brittle, it has what's called, this is that diamond I was telling you about from Botswana, the second largest diamond in the world. Comes from Botswana. And the only reason they found it is because they have a new diamond detection technology that allows them to not to look into the ground without actually digging stuff up, because what they were finding was a lot of fragments, and they was just like, wow, it looked like a field of broken glass, and they realized that they were breaking the diamonds up. They were breaking them up. Yeah. See, because what diamonds have is what's called perfect cleavage. Perfect cleavage. This is a family show. Thank you. Perfect cleavage. What perfect cleavage means that if you hit a diamond in a certain place, in a certain plane, that diamond will split in half. Exactly. It will be smooth on both sides. You know how you break something and it's jagged? It's perfect cleavage. That's how they can cut a diamond. That's how diamonds are cut. This is the Culligan. This is the Culligan diamond, the largest diamond in the world. The Culligan. All right. This is the guy. What was his name? Oh, Joseph Asher. Joseph Asher. This is just before he's ready to hit that diamond. Yep. This is Joseph Asher trying to hit that diamond. They said he did it twice. The first time, it literally broke the thing that was holding the dot. And then when he did it again, it cleaved perfectly and he fainted. That's the other story goes. Because of all the pressure he had to deal with. This is the basic equipment he used to cut the largest diamond in the world. This is his equipment. Joseph Asher. Those of you who might know the cut, there's an Asher cut. It's like a round, it's an 8-sided round brilliant, basically. Yeah, it's an 8-sided diamond. Beautiful. I love Asher cuts. They're expensive as all heck, but I love Asher cuts. This is the Culligan. This is how it was cut up. It was cut up into a whole lot, but there are 9 main diamonds. This one right here, the Culligan one, that sits in the Queen's Royal jewelry. The Culligan 2 sits in the crown. So here's the Culligan 2. This is the royal, the imperial crown of England. This is what the queen, all the queens, well, not all the queens, but Queen Elizabeth, Queen Victoria, Queen Elizabeth II, they all wore this. Not the first Queen Elizabeth, the first, yeah, Queen, I keep forgetting how old she is. It's like how far, yeah, Queen Elizabeth II and Queen Victoria, both wore this. And King George, right? King George, King Charles is wearing it right now. Not today, but this is his now. And here's the Culligan one. The largest cut diamond in the world, sits right in his scepter. So despite all the things that I told you that's wrong with the diamond as far as it breaking, it's still considered to be precious, right? It's still considered to be precious, right? No problem. And the thing about that versus semi-precious, everything else is semi-precious, right? Ladies and gentlemen, you remember that scene in Malcolm X when Malcolm X said, "You've been bamboozled. You didn't led astray, run amok." Okay? Plymouth, you didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on you. That's what semi-precious is. Semi-precious is a lie. It's a concept that someone made up. It's an illusion. That's what semi-precious is. It's not real. Semi-precious is not a real thing. It's not someone created, just like they said, diamonds are forever. No, they're not. Diamonds are not forever. Or diamonds are so precious. Man, please. I think they mined something like 40, 50 million tons of diamonds last year alone. Botswana, tons of diamonds. That's the problem. They got so many diamonds that now everybody's buying synthetic diamonds that it changes its value. It changes its value. Some of you think about it. Think about this internally. This is what some of you are going through right now. Let me show you. Let me show you. So we talk about, let's define precious, right? Precious is in gemology, any gemstone that's considered to be rare, beautiful, and has high value, right? Remember the 4 things that make a gemstone a gemstone, right? There you go. That's what precious is. And precious is talking about the cardinal stones. And I've done a show on this a long time ago, but let me remind you. The cardinal stones were the stones, diamonds, emeralds, rubies, and sapphires. Those are the cardinal stones. So those of you born this month, your stone is a sapphire, it's a cardinal stone. And that's when I began to understand the difference that semi-precious and precious meant, because it's not real. It's on some okay, it's on some sugar honey iced tea. That's what that term is. You know why I can say that? Because this is an amethyst. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Once upon a time, amethyst was considered a cardinal stone. Oh yeah. If you were a king or queen or nobleman, if you thought you had power, if you didn't have one of these, you wasn't a king or queen or a noble. No, you weren't. You were not royalty. You had to have an amethyst. Amethyst still, for those of you in different communities, understand the color purple means royalty. So if you had an amethyst, you were the bomb. Amethyst. Amethyst. Yeah. Big amethyst. And you know what happened to amethyst? You know what happened to amethyst? In the 18th century, about 1860, I think. I have to check the data. 1850, 1860, they found a whole bunch of amethyst. And you know why you know that's true? Because how many people, especially those of you who are into gemstones, y'all got that. You got ashtrays, you got geos, I know a person that got a geo was like, spent lots of money on that. But it's not a cardinal stone anymore. Raise your hand if you understand exactly what I'm talking about. I'm 63 years old. I used to be, all that, Big Billy, whatever. Okay. United States Marine. Now I'm 63, 64 in a few weeks. Now, and then according to people, friends of mine, a guy in Toastmasters named Dan, who maybe started to be aware of it, is just how many people my age or in their late 50s, they can't find a job. They don't have value anymore because you got all these other people who are younger. So why should we pick your old butt? Right? We're amethyst. We used to be. At least that's what they're telling us. And that's why I'm saying the secret is flip the script. Flip the script, flip the way people think about you. Think about you. Change the way you think about yourself. Amethyst is still amethyst. Just because you don't think it's precious anymore, don't mean it's not precious. Don't let them tell you that, oh, it's just quartz. It's just the purple variety of quartz. That's what the book says. Oh, it's just the purple variety of quartz. And once upon a time, it was all of that. Just like you. Remind yourself of that. See, I don't have to, this is what I'm talking about. I don't have to argue with you about this. You know, especially those of you who are either born in February or just like the color purple, you know you love amethyst. You know you love amethyst. So to you, if someone gave you that, it's precious because it's amethyst. No, it's not a diamond. Yeah, diamonds are nice. This is what you can do with a diamond. That's nice. It's not here's an emerald. This is what an emerald starts out looking like, just like that. There you go. And it becomes this. You can make necklaces like this. Beautiful. Here's a ruby. If rubies have inclusions in them too. Rubies and sapphires. Oh, they make tons of those synthetics. In fact, the guy, his name is Chapman, he started out making synthetic emeralds. Then he got real good at that. And then he started making rubies and sapphires. So that's been synthetic for a long time. Long time. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, there's whole chapters you have to study, whether you go to GIA or GMA or ISG. Yeah, in fact, Robert James knows this guy personally. Yeah. That's a ruby. That's a ruby. That's considered precious, that pigeon blood red. There you go. And this is sapphire. This is sapphire in its rough form. This is called a cashmere sapphire. They don't even make these, they don't even mine these anymore. That's where tanzanite came in because the color is similar. Tanzanite is in December, so this is sapphire. This is this quintessential sapphire. When you think of sapphire, those of you born in September, this is your stone. Well, and you know that sapphire comes in like every color of the rainbow, but red. Sapphire and rubies are the same stone. Rubies have chromium in it, which gives it that red color. Sapphire has iron, different percentages of iron and titanium, which gives it the orange, the black, the blue, all the other colors. Notice I said something is in it. That's called an inclusion. Something is in it. For people, that inclusion is education. That inclusion is your daddy. That inclusion is your mom. That inclusion is that coach. That inclusion is that teacher. That inclusion is that story that you read as a child or that project that you got. That's the inclusion that brings out the color, because no gemstone, most gemstones have inclusions in it. That's why they have their color. That's why they get their color. There's iron and titanium in this gemstone. The basic gemstone is aluminum oxide. That's the basic, and I showed you, that just looks like a powder. It doesn't look like anything. It's like an abrasive, because sapphire has a hardness of 9. But when you put chromium in that molecular structure in a certain way, that's what you get. That's who you are. That's who you are. And some of us, as I told you before, when I was talking about August, is peridot. Peridot has something that inclusion is built in. It's not an inclusion. It's built into the molecular structure. So it is what it is. Why is that considered to be a semi-precious stone and this is a precious stone? Think about it. Think about it. Those of you who are depressed, and I understand being depressed because you're no longer seen in the same light that you were before. You have to see it. You have to see that light inside of you. That's why I use gemstones. This is just a blue stone with white stones around it until you understand the story, because there's a whole lot of different gemstones that have similar colors to that. So in order for you to know what that is, you would have to understand what it is. In order for someone to know who you are, that person has to know what you are, what they've gone through, what makes you different. Tell me your story. Tell me your story. This is what happens to you when you don't tell your story, when you just become one of a lot. You become amethyst. You're beautiful. Amethyst is, oh my God, is the story. I told you the story of amethyst. This was a beautiful maiden, chaste and just pure. It's quartz, and the god of wine, Dionysus, okay, or Bacchus, cried purple tears because he's the god of wine, and it turned into a purple gemstone, and her name was Amethystis. That's the story of amethyst. But somehow the amethyst is seen as a semi-precious stone. Think about what you can do with that, how you can flip that, just that basic concept of a word, whether it be carat, weight, whether it be hardness. Here's a story. When I was a kid, I got arrested. Me, David Johnson, and my brother, and we'll say the other guy just because I haven't seen David in a long time. Clifford, okay, I think it was Clifford. It was kind of traumatic, but anyhow, David Johnson and I were the two oldest, and of course I got blamed as the ringleader. That's a whole nother story. But we went to jail, and I was terrified. I was like, oh my God, I am in jail. And I just thought about all the movies I had watched. And not jail, I was in, the police lockup. And David, who was the big jock, I mean, all the girls loved David. He was a big jock and just tough. He played football, baseball, he played all six-pack, everything. He was crying like a baby. He was crying like a baby. And I was just like, David, we can't do this, man. We can't do this. Okay. You have to be, so it's kind of like a diamond. He was hard on the outside, but the inside, no. Now, don't get me wrong. I was terrified. I was just like, please just don't pee on yourself. That's all. Please just don't pee on yourself. That's all. Which is part of the reason why I joined the Marine Corps, because I needed to be tough inside and out. Yeah. I joined the Marine Corps after that incident. So what does semi-precious really mean? When you have something that's precious and goes through all those things, and you have things that are semi-precious or considered semi-precious, and they have characteristics that are far exceed something that we consider to be precious. And it's all based on the stories. It all wraps around the way you tell your story, what you decide to believe about yourself. See, all of us are gemstones in our own way. I just give you, all I'm doing on this show is taking those characteristics. I will read a book. This is The Curious Law of Precious Stones, okay, by George Kuntz. George Kuntz, he's like all that in the world of gemology. And at least not just the world of it, but the metaphysical aspects of it. And I will read something like this and guarantee there's something that I'll go, wait a minute. You mean an emerald is treated? You mean an emerald emeralds are very brittle. That's why you have the emerald cut. That's why emeralds normally are in a setting that protects it, because it will break. And it's not perfect cleavage. It will just break in ugly ways. Yeah. Yeah. Colloidal, as they call it. Who are you? How do you resonate with the light? What story do you choose to believe about yourself? If you're going to take on a gemstone and imagine yourself as that gemstone, don't just imagine the good part, understand its weaknesses. Understand what makes it different, what makes it break, what makes it reflect the light, what makes it good for wearing as a necklace, versus a ring. I love pearls. I love pearls. I love pearls, and I love opal. Both of those are soft stones. So if I got I hit my hands too many times to even think about wearing a pearl ring. Men wore pearls all the time, but I wouldn't necessarily. I can identify myself with a pearl as far as just all the things that I had to go through in my life, and what I hope is something I'm more beautiful than what the darkness that used to be inside of me. That's what a pearl is, that bacterial infection inside, and the oyster were surrounded by nacre, and it becomes something beautiful. Yeah, but it's not a durable stone. Opals are not a durable stone. If you leave opal in the window and the sun's shining on it, go ahead. That opal won't be worth anything. It will break. It's called crazing. Yeah, because it has water in it. Opal has something like 40% water in it. Yeah, microscopic, but yeah. So, what does semi-precious really mean? You know, when you open up your jewelry box, and we'll go more into this next week, but when you open up your jewelry box, what do you see? What is it that you're experiencing? It's not hard to make those analogies. And that's what I want to show you each week. Just taking gemology, taking the feel, and just literally taking the words, this is precious, this is semi-precious. According to who? You mean the people that are trying to sell the gemstone? Surely we can trust them. Okay. But what we can do is use their words, use their concepts, use their understanding of value, and implant that in ourselves. So if you're a diamond, be proud that you're a diamond. Yeah. Your hardness allows you to shine brighter. But as we see from a lot of celebrities, they shine bright, but they go through different things. How many people have we lost highly talented, and they commit suicide? They're brittle inside. Something made them crack. Yeah. Some of us are amethysts. Some of us, you remember when we had a house and a car and all these wonderful things, and we were the high school champion something, or we in college, we ran track and we did all these things, and you built the business until the pandemic came, and now, or they hired someone younger, and now, or you had kids, and or you're just not looking the same way you did, or life, your inclusions. The average diamond is at least 600 million years old. The average diamond, these diamonds I have in my ear are at least 600 million years old. Next month, I'm 64. I'm a baby. Gemologically, I'm nothing. I'm a cell. I'm the first carbon coming together. And the more I work on myself, the more I'll become just like a diamond. I'll figure out what I am and what I can work with, and shine the light the best way I can. if I choose to be a diamond or opal or topaz or a sapphire. So I hope you got something out of this today. Think about it. Think about all the words that we use. There's more. Think about all the words that we use, like color, and how those words are used in a negative way. And yet, in gemology, in gemstones and jewelry, go ahead and be a black diamond. See what happens. Go ahead and be a yellow diamond or a red ruby and see how much value. But yet, if you're a black person or a red person or a yellow person or a white person, why can't we have that same, why can't we accept value about people the same way we so easily accept value in gemstones? I'm just saying. So until next week, my name is Barry B. Mixon. I am a gemmological storyteller. And please think about this show. Some of you are going through a lot right now. Think about this show and see if you can use gemstones as a way to discover the value of your own stories. So until next time.